Health officials are increasing surveillance at the nation's borders as fears are mounting of the possible arrival of monkeypox in Jamaica. The virus has now been detected in parts of Europe, the United States, Canada, and Australia. Director of Family Health Services, Dr. Mello Tv says the surveillance systems at the air and seaports are active. The director says existing partnerships with the Ministries of National Security and Foreign Affairs, as well as the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency PICA, have been activated. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is advising that there are no cases of monkeypox reported in the country at this time. However, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Mackenzie says the public is being advised that the present COVID-19 measures of practicing physical distancing, mask wearing, and frequent hand sanitization will also reduce the likelihood of transmission of the monkeypox virus.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is advising that there are no cases of monkeypox reported in Jamaica at this time. However, the public is being advised that the present COVID-19 measures of practicing physical distancing, mask wearing, and frequent hand sanitization will also reduce the likelihood of transmission of monkeypox virus if it should come to Jamaica. Monkeypox is a rare disease that is similar to smallpox and can be transmitted by contact and droplet exposure. Over the last 2 weeks, monkeypox outbreaks have been reported in Europe, North America, and Australia. Most cases are linked to persons with recent travel to countries where monkeypox is endemic, mainly in the region of West Africa. Persons must report to the health department if they develop a fever, a rash, following recent international travel, or close contact with persons who have traveled to endemic countries. Healthcare workers must also have a heightened sense of awareness of this disease that has been spreading in some countries and report suspected cases to the health department.
Now, monkeypox is a rare disease that is similar to smallpox and can be transmitted by contact and droplet exposure. However, the World Health Organization, WHO, has reported that the current outbreak is spreading primarily through sexual contact. Over the last 2 weeks, monkeypox outbreaks have been reported in Europe, North America, and Australia. Most cases are linked to persons with recent travel to countries where monkeypox is endemic, mainly in the region of West Africa. Dr. Mackenzie explained how a person can identify the monkeypox.
In countries where monkeypox is endemic, human-to-human transmission of monkeypox occurs by contact and droplet exposure by exhaled large droplets. The incubation period is usually 6 to 13 days, but it can range from 5 to 21 days. Symptoms can be mild or severe and associated with skin rash that can be very itchy or painful. Severe disease may be fatal. The disease is often self-limiting, with symptoms usually resolving spontaneously within 14 to 21 days. Symptoms include fever, chills, intense headaches, exhaustion, backache, muscle ache, swollen lymph nodes, and rash. Children are at high risk, and monkeypox during pregnancy may lead to complications, congenital monkeypox, or stillbirth. The virus is normally found in animals, but the disease may be transmitted from animals to humans, usually through bites or scratches or consumption of bushmeat. Milder cases of monkeypox may go undetected and represent a risk of person-to-person transmission.
Now, for more information on monkeypox, join the Ministry of Health and Wellness for a virtual webinar on Thursday, May 26 at 12:30 p.m., where experts will explain the virus and answer questions from members of the public. We turn our attention now to tonight's COVID-19 update, where Jamaica yesterday recorded 238 new cases of COVID-19 and 2 new virus-related deaths. increasing the total of confirmed cases now to 135,331 and the death toll to 3,039. According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the country also recorded 125 recoveries for a total of 86,288, while there are 3,364 active cases. Now, of the newly reported cases, there were 142 females and 93 males, ranging in age from 1 day to 108 years. In tonight's COVID-19 parish breakdown, Kingston and St. Andrew recorded 20 cases, St. Catherine recorded 15 cases, St. James recorded a high of 87 cases, St. Anne 14 cases, St. Mary 22 cases, Westmoreland recorded 27 cases, Trelawney recorded 11 cases, Manchester recorded 8 cases, while St. Elizabeth and Hanover recorded 14 cases each. Meanwhile, the latest fatalities are of a 77-year-old female from St. Catherine who died in September 2021 and a 72-year-old male from St. Catherine who died in October of 2021. And as COVID-19 continues to impact the education sector, the Ministry of Education and Youth and the Overseas Examinations Council, OEC, would like to reassure candidates and parents that they are prepared to facilitate candidates suspected of having COVID-19 or who are COVID-19 positive to sit their examinations for the May-June 2022 CXC, City and Guilds, and NCT Vet written examinations in an isolated area, following a release from the Ministry of Health and Wellness that outlines a summary of guidelines for the sitting of local and external examinations for candidates with COVID-19. Resources have been mobilized and the necessary communication made to stakeholders in preparation for the start of written exams this week. Earlier today, Minister of Education and Youth Favour Williams said students who test positive for COVID-19 should still be allowed to sit their exams as the ministry has the necessary protocols in place.
We are in the exam period, CSEC, CAPE, City and Guilds, NCT Vet. And we have indicated as well through the OEC to our parents or teachers or invigilators that if a student shows up and says they're COVID positive, that student should take the exam. That student should not be sent away, but there are certain protocols that we have to observe. So for example, that student would be put in a separate room, and if there are other students who are positive, they'd be put in the room together and away from the other students. The invigilators would have to abide by certain protocols as well in terms of the kinds of masks that they wear and the PPEs and so on. So we are prepared for any eventuality. We're prepared for the exam season. Want to wish all our students the best. I know that they've been studying through the COVID, and boy, it tells us that they are resilient. And so we wish them all the best as they go through the exams during the remainder of May into June, and for those who carry on into July.
Minister Williams cautioned persons that we are still in a pandemic and everyone should act responsibly.
Parents, please help us. You're an important stakeholder in all of this. Just to remind your children, to encourage them. We're still in COVID. We're still living through it, and we have to all be responsible. Sent out the bulletin to all our schools about the restoration of the mask mandate, and that's because we're seeing increased numbers across the education sector among teachers and students. And from week to week, based on the data we saw for the first week of May versus the second week of May, the numbers were significantly up, and so we had to act immediately. Our schools are very familiar with what that means and how to manage it in our schools. We're encouraging our parents, please ensure that your child leaves home with a mask, and you encourage them to wear it in the transportation that they have to use when they get to school, in the classrooms, when they're out and about, to also use it.
In other news, detectives assigned to the Westmoreland Division charged 3 men with the murder of 29-year-old Jaren Murphy, laborer of Sea Star Lane, West End, Negril in the parish. They are 19-year-old James Crooks, otherwise called 99, painter of West End, 22-year-old Kimberly Williams, unemployed of Love Lane in Negril, and 19-year-old Eton Slater, unemployed of Love Lane, Negril, all from Westmoreland. Reports coming in to our news center tonight are that on March 14, at about 11 p.m., residents heard explosions and summoned the police. Upon their arrival, Murphy was seen with several gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Investigations led to the arrest of the 3 men. On May 20, they were pointed out by witnesses during an identification parade as the men involved in the killing of Jaren Murphy. Their court date is being finalized. In another crime update, a 24-year-old dance teacher was yesterday charged with the murder of Jermaine Barrington in Stewarttown, St. Mary on Sunday, May 8. Charged is Faraji Elliott of Bosco Bell, St. Mary. Reports are that both men were among patrons at a party where several fights broke out. Elliott allegedly pointed out Barrington to another man who then opened gunfire, hitting Barrington. The police were summoned and Barrington was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Investigations led to Elliott's arrest. He was later pointed out during an identification parade. An interview was then conducted and he was subsequently charged. His court date is being arranged. And 3 men are in custody pending further investigations following the seizure of a firearm and an assortment of ammunition during a joint police and military operation on Hemmings Way in Brook Valley, Kingston 20 on the weekend. Reports coming into our news center tonight are that between the hours of 5 and 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, the team conducted search operations at several premises. Now, during the operation, the following were seized: 1 Rosso .387 Magnum, 6.387 cartridges, 20 5.56 cartridges, 5.357 cartridges, 14.22 cartridges, and 18.22 LR cartridges. The investigation is ongoing and we will bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. Still making the news tonight, 50 students at the Glendavon Primary and Infant School that also serves the Salt Spring and Norwood communities received tablets from Member of Parliament for St. James Northwestern and Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang. During the handing over ceremony today, Dr. Chang explained how this will assist the students in their learning.
I'm here giving them a presentation of some 50 tablets to try and ensure that all the kids coming back to school, now we are the face-to-face, we still have access. Up until while they were out, an attempt was made earlier, the beginning of COVID, to ensure they got some access. But now that 2 years has passed, some kids have moved on, they're here. They got the initial set from various corporate donations and PATH and the government own your own tablets. On checking with the school principal, we're short of about 120 tablets. And I found these kids do very well when they have access. Right? We cannot allow them to go back to home without just homeschooling, but they still need access. In fact, this was one of the first schools that had a small computer lab installed with 35 seats. And after some 3 years of activity and the leadership of the principal, we had moved up the grade 4 literacy numeracy from 40% to 100%. And all the kids, including the boys, were getting placed in the school of their choice. So I feel very strongly about ensuring the kids in Glendavon get their appropriate equipment to go to school. Everybody in Glendavon has some in the news has been identified, other activities. Now that's his credit, but we have some of our brightest kids come out of Glendevon, and I'm going to work with the principal, and I will continue to see if I can get any further corporate donations to complete the equipping of the schools here.
In response to the work of the joint forces in the area and other surrounding communities, Dr. Chang said that their goal in policing these communities is to maintain law and order.
Well, it has been very, very peaceful in the area. A lot of community interaction. In fact, they are playing together again, and that's very positive. What we have to do now is the build phase, which is just coming on stream, to ensure we can provide reliable and quality supply to the homes, water supply. Most of the supply up there now, they do have a supply, it's not legitimate. They have been taking water from elsewhere and run their own pipeline. So we want to structure that to a formal system. Formalizing the various aspects of the community is important in ensuring that there's sustainability in good order out there. There are a few more roads to be done, some of strategic value, and they'll be done in the build phase. But so far, the community has been very quiet and has been very positive in their reception of the security forces. We haven't had any calls with them as may have happened elsewhere, but I think they want to get on. Some of the officers feel that they are not doing anything because they have nothing to do. So, because now it is now the community has larger working people. And it's just a matter of maintaining a level of order between the various factions. It was initiated largely because of increased lotto scamming, which is part of the Montego Bay underworld.
He further pointed out that efficient policing is a main solution in reducing murders.
The only thing that can stop cut murder rate is to have an efficient police, which means they have to be properly equipped, have good intelligence, and trained to deal with men who kill. They are trained as a paramilitary force. In the short term, you cannot talk to a gunman who is earning $200,000 a month about social intervention. It just doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. It's best. But we know that at the other end of it, in the medium term, we have to correct the social ills that provide a ground for recruitment. So the two things are not contradictory, and this government is one of the first governments who have said we do both together. It's not one for the other. When you have a secondary school system turning out maybe 60% of your graduates without appropriate certificate, in fact, when that is happening, we have to deal with the education system. It's not a matter of some nice project by NGOs. We must deal with the fundamental of education system, which this government is about to do. That's why we did the PATS report, and despite of the bleatings around, the government is pursuing, the Prime Minister is leading that and is going to get the adjustment and the radical changes required and the investment required in our education to ensure that there's equity in our society where education is concerned. Increasing our numbers, we added about 800 this year, so we're at over 12,000. We will hit the 14,000 establishment barrier, and we do think we need more than 14,000, but we're going to put in all the multiplier factors, go towards the 14,000, and then look at what the economy can afford to get to the 18,000 that we really require.
For her part, principal of the school, Audrey Lee Penado, said that great partnerships like the one with the MP of the constituency, Dr. Chang, builds great schools.
We believe that in order to achieve excellence, we must have great partnership. Great partnership build great schools, and we want to extend our gratitude to our Member of Parliament and Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Horace Chang, for this initiative in partnering with us, because we know our children will be benefited from this initiative. The tablets are very useful because now we use a hybrid approach where we do both face-to-face and online classes. And we realized that some of our students they were not able to afford tablets. But through this initiative, more children will be able to benefit, and we know we are in a technological age, and students are going further in technology, and we really welcome this partnership because we are changing lives through education. So we are truly, truly grateful to our MP for this donation here today.
Head girl Shanique Campbell expressed thanks on behalf of the students.
Well, I feel good about getting the tablets. Although I have one of my own, many children here does not have one. So during the period that we have been online, most of my classmates haven't really been online due to the lockdown and the lack of tablets and service or internet. So for getting the tablet is good. Like for example, most of us can now do online work because most of the time, although we are coming back face to face to school, our teacher still uses the devices to give us homeworks and work online. Like for example, when we are studying, our teacher gave us work on it, and most of the information that we are studying about are already on the Google Classroom platform.
And those are the stories making news. We now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with the latest in sports.